Welcome everyone. Welcome to a part of our What Works series. My name is Madeline Schultz and I am a part of the alumni team here at SAIT. And I'm thrilled to have everyone join us for this evening's conversation. Again, please note that this is being recorded to share with those who are unable to join live. We acknowledge that SAIT is situated on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy. The city of Calgary encompasses a region of the Blackfoot tribes of southern Alberta described as Mohkinstsis, meaning elbow, in reference to its location at the confluence of the Bow and Elbow rivers. This region was the traditional gathering place for the tribes of the Blackfoot Confederacy. And today we are meeting on the traditional territories of the Blackfoot Confederacy, which encompasses the Indigenous people of Treaty 7 region of southern Alberta, including Siksika, the Piikani, the Kainai, the Tsuut'ina, the Stoney Nakoda First Nations, and the Northwest Métis Homeland Region 3. The What Works Speaker Series was developed in response to the feedback that we received from our SAIT alumni. And the focus of the series is to focus on career development, industry connections, and how SAIT can be your lifelong partner in both your education and in your career. This evening, we'll be talking about mentorship, which I'm excited about. It's something I love to talk about. We are hosted tonight by the SAIT Industry Mentorship Coordinator, Andrea DiCandilo, and we are joined by Danilo De Leon, the Lululemon Training and Leadership Manager, and Jade Milson, who's an HR advisor at BeamSuntory. To those who submitted their questions in advance of this event, thank you. If you have questions specific to the content as we chat throughout the hour, or just shy of an hour, please use the Q&A tool and note that you can post your questions anonymously if you'd prefer. I will jump in and out throughout the conversation, Andrea, if there's questions that I think are good to bring up. So with that, I will hand it over to Andrea to moderate the conversation. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Madeline. Welcome to this lovely event. So as Madeline said, I'm Andrea DiCandilo, the Industry Mentorship Coordinator at SAIT. Again, I love mentorship, could talk about it forever, and especially with career readiness as well. So I work in career advancement services, where we help students sort of, where that gap between, or that bridge between employers or industry and students. So we like to bring everyone together. So first up, I'll introduce Danilo. I'll let him talk a little bit about himself, his background, and then he can pass it over to Jade.
Thanks, Andrea. Hi, everyone. My name is Danilo De Leon, and as kind of mentioned, I work with Lululemon, and I have the privilege of working on our learning and leadership development team. So a little bit about me. I was born and raised in Calgary. I actually went to SAIT. Geez, I was trying to count back the years, but there's so many. So I went to SAIT back in 2003, right around that time. Taking marketing and just a little bit about just kind of my career journey. I was with Shaw Communications for about 10 or so years. So I worked in a variety of different operational roles. I was a director of talent for about 4 or 5 years there, and made the decision to switch over to WestJet. So I was with WestJet for a few years. The pandemic happened in 2020, and I just most recently joined the Lululemon team here back in actually closing in on a year now. So in October of 2020. Is there anything else I should share?
No, thanks, Dylan. I'll let Jade do her introduction, and then I'll jump into some questions after Jade does her introduction. Yeah, thank you.
My name is Jade Milson. As you can probably tell from the accent, I'm not originally from Calgary. I have been here for around 2 years. When I first moved, I was working with TC Energy and their HR shared services team. And then close to a year ago, I started with Alberta Distillers as their senior HR manager. Alberta Distillers is based here just off of Ogden Road in the heart of the city centre. Not many people know that we have a distillery in Calgary. And Alberta Distillers is a BeamSuntory company. We're a global organisation. Distilled spirits, beverages is what we do. And actually, I used to work for BeamSuntory looking after our Scotch and Irish whiskey business before I moved to Canada. So great to be back in the drinks industry. I've always been in a kind of HR business partner generalist role, and I love that because you get to get involved in lots of different areas of HR. I've been employee relations, union relations, L&D, organizational development. And I love that part of my role. Love, like Andrea says, I love mentorship as well. So really excited that we get to talk about that today.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, just add something. Sorry, I feel like I was just so formal with everything. Like, you guys just inspired me a little bit. Just one thing I might want to add is like spend some time over the last little bit just trying to and I think lots of us have to just really understand what your purpose is, like what drives you, what motivates you. And maybe it's because I'm an HR person that I need to say this and everything. But for me, like one of the things that really drives me is this notion of career and the belief that career shouldn't happen by accident. So for me, I just believe there's just so much power in what a career can actually bring for the person, for the community, for the people around you. And this is why I'm so like thrilled to be here in this conversation with everyone, because there's no better time to talk career. And I'm just super excited to be able to have this conversation with you all. So.
Thank you. And we are thrilled to have you both here as well. And I get so pumped when everyone else is so pumped about it as well. So I think that definitely rubs off onto everybody. So we're super excited to have you guys a part of this. So first question, which you both sort of have like really briefly touched on, just a really basic question of, why do you both think and I'll let you sort of, raise your hand or just jump in as you want to, but why you think mentorship is so important in both the general sense and for you personally, why you think it's an important thing.
For me, I find it can just be it can be a really effective way of developing employees, helping to enhance their skills, their knowledge, their performance. Personally, for me, I get that sort of drive from being able to give back, right? To be able to help someone, help shape their career. They could be stuck in a rut or just not sure how to approach someone, and just being able to give guidance or some ideas can have such a big impact on someone. And I always find, and I think that was one of the questions that's coming up, you always learn something as well, like personally, some connecting with some people that are kind of earlier in their career, just had some good ideas on things like, I never thought about it that way. So just the conversation, when you have that good relationship as a mentee and a mentor, the way the discussions, where they can lead to, I just think it's very interesting and lots of benefits for both parties, I think.
I've been thinking about this question for the last couple of days, and it's kind of going into the conversation. For me, there's kind of three areas around why I think mentorship is so important. The first one I think is just, it's natural when you think about mentorship, but there's an element of just learning. Like I think that whether I was trying to Google different stats around just jobs and just just how fast skills are expiring and everything. But mentorship at its purest form is a form of learning. And today, if you're not learning, you're falling behind. So I think there's that element around why I love mentorship. The second one I would say is around connection. Like there's, you can learn in so many different ways, but there is just something about a connection that's really created between a mentor and a mentee that really deepens the learning and that experience. So there's that element. And I would think just like impact. You can't say this for everyone, everybody learns in different ways, but the ability to be able to scale your learning, scale the impact that you create is just magnified, in my opinion, when you've got that relationship in place. So I think there's probably a dozen of other reasons why I think mentorship is probably important, but I would just kind of look at it as learning, connection, and then impact.
That's awesome. I'm glad you guys have said that too. They're sort of the big things in our formal industry mentorship, exactly those things that we talk about as well for the benefits. And Jade, one thing you touched on too, especially with mentors, is having new students come through as well, because you do get that fresh, brand new knowledge as well. So as a mentor, as Danilo said, you're learning as well, because they have those fresh ideas and those new new ways, you know, that's coming into the industry, and you think, oh, awesome, and you can kind of combine the old with the new, which is quite cool. So yeah, I agree. I think that's super important. Next up, what skills and or lessons have you gained as a mentee? And again, what skills have you guys gained as a mentor as well, if you've been in those positions?
I have been mentored before, and I think one of the biggest things was my self-confidence, like being able to build on my self-confidence. Also, what I think is really important is, because I've had a mentor that's external, so somebody I had worked with, and then I think we both moved on, but we kind of maintained that relationship. So we knew each other really well, we'd worked together, so there was a really strong relationship there, but we now worked at different places. So that external perspective, things that, you know, they've done and they've seen in different industries, and they were more experienced as well, so they had a broader range of experience, I just found so helpful, and helping me find the right ideas for my organisation. And ultimately, that guidance that I had received in the past allowed me to, you know, implement a few different initiatives that received lots of positive feedback. So it helped me be more successful and perform at a higher level. You know, and I don't think I would have got there myself without that kind of guidance and just seeing, you know, things from a different lens. I think as a mentor, I think, you know, I've learned that have a good match. You know, it's important to kind of be well matched with, you know, the person that you're mentoring, that the skills that they're looking to learn, that I'm able to, you know, provide guidance and have experience in those areas. So I think that's important, being able to ask good questions, you know, understand and help them understand and get to what are their needs. I think those are kind of skills that I've had to hone a little bit, and experiences have taught me that those are important.
I'll probably copy a few of your answers, but I'll try to put my own kind of spin on everything. So what I would say, as I was thinking about this question, and this may or may not apply to you or not, but you know, as I progressed through my career, what I started to realize is a mentor that I wanted to ensure was just consistently there, was going to be my leader. So as I was choosing positions, as I was choosing departments, one of the criteria that I had was what is the leader, who's the leader that I would be reporting into? How are they going to help me develop the skills that I need? Do they have the influence and experience to be able to elevate me in the areas that I need to develop in? There's different types of mentors, but I'll probably hit on the different skills of mentors that I've actually experienced in my work career. So when I was at Shaw, I had the awesome opportunity of reporting into our chief learning officer, who was a chief learning officer at Starbucks. He helped set up the Microsoft University and everything. And this was me coming in at a time where I had no idea what HR was. I was doing well in the business and needed to really develop this side of my tool belt, and having the right mentor at the right time in the right circumstances, I think was extremely valuable for me to be able to develop that element of my skill sets. And so I think about, like, when I say this, because I think there's an element of timing that is really important. As Jade mentions, there's a match piece. So it's making sure you got the right person at the right time and you've got the right circumstances around you to be able to develop. As I was working within WestJet, there was an element of learning the aviation industry and hospitality, and just the science that really goes into that. So having a leader that lived and breathed, you know, setting up business classes, setting up bespoke sort of restaurants and everything like that. Working with SAIT team here actually on co-creating a hospitality curriculum and being able to tap into their instructors to be able to help me. I think that was super beneficial. So I just mentioned that, like, there's specific hard skills that you need to develop, and I think an expectation that's reasonable is to expect that a lot of the skills that you're going to be able to develop and that mentor relationship with your leader couldn't be more valuable. Something that I've learned as a mentor is just that just the uniqueness that really exists within all humans. So one size doesn't fit all. I hate using that sort of cliche kind of slogan, but as the next most important thing to what Jade mentioned in terms of matching people together is the ability to really personalize that experience as a mentor or mentee. So making sure that you understand what motivates an individual, you understand how an individual takes feedback, how they respond to different circumstances, the ability to understand where your biases sit versus their biases, and being able to create the right atmosphere and the right language to be able to get what you need out of that relationship, I would say would be some of the most important things that I've learned as a mentor and a mentee.
That actually flows really beautifully into my next question. I'm actually going to combine a couple of questions here, touching on a lot of what you just said of what's the best way, would you say, is to approach, to sort of like cultivate and maintain that relationship as well, and timing, as you said, what timing is right to sort of start that relationship as a mentor and a mentee. How would you say how do you know the right time for you to build that relationship, and then how to build it as well? How do you start to develop that relationship and keep it going? Jade, you said you kept it going after being in different companies, so bit of a long-winded question, but how do you approach it, and how do you know the right time as well?
I think as a potential mentee, it might be, maybe when you're starting your career, you're early in your career, how do I approach my job search? How do I, craft my resume so that I stand out? I want to practice, interview skills. Could be some of the reasons to kind of prompt you to start that relationship. But equally later in your career, maybe you're stuck in a rut, you're looking to change directions. I think a lot of people have paused during COVID and have, decided now's the time for a new kind of career pathway. Maybe you've taken time out to have a family and you're returning, or for another reason you're returning to the work place after maybe a few years of being out. These are all times where having the guidance of a mentor might place you really well to set you up for success, and just tap into the knowledge and experience of someone who has that. I think for a mentor, do you have the time? Are you committed to it? Do you have skills and experience that others could benefit from? Making sure that you definitely have the time, and you're going to be able to give it your full commitment, your full time, your prep work and all that sort of thing. If you have that, and you have that kind of want and desire to give back, then I think this could be the right time for you to become a mentor for someone. I've now forgot the first part of your question, Andrea. Sorry, there was something else.
Sorry, that was a really long question. It was about how to approach it as well. So when you know it's the right time, or you feel it's the right time, how to approach, being a mentor, or if you want to be a mentee, we'll sort of focus on mentors, but how you approach that relationship. Where do you go?
Some organizations, like we in BeamSuntory, we have formal kind of mentorship programs. So, HR will seek out people, or you can obviously, hey, I'd be interested in being a mentor. A lot of professional bodies offer that opportunity to become a mentor, connecting with, like I've done, connecting with SAIT to see, is there a way that I can give back and be more involved, or always, you can look to become a mentor. I think if you're someone who's looking for mentorship, if you're in an organization, is there someone that you have a relationship with that you admire? because relationships so important, and that mentorship, you know, that you could ask, or you know, would they be willing to be your mentor? And through, you know, schools and professional bodies quite often are really good ways to network and connect with someone who could be your a potential future mentor.
Yeah, I think my perspective on this is really deepened since joining Lululemon. And I think I'm hanging out in the house of, and especially as you look at from a career perspective, and you know, and as professionals, regardless of what field you're in, is I always think of mentorship. Being a mentor and a mentee is always on now. And you know, from my perspective, like I feel like, you know, if there's an always on from a variety of from two different perspectives, always on from the perspective of the relationship between the individual and your leader. So if you're working in an organization, there's just got to be just that understanding that that's just there. Like I always say that there's nobody that you should be the first person in line in terms of caring about your career. The second person in line should be your leader, and being able to ensure that you're getting what you need out of that your leader to be able to develop you, help you set you on the right career pathway. I think that's sort of an always on relationship. And then from the other perspective of just living in this world of development, being able to constantly and continuously understand the areas that you want to improve in and the areas that you need to develop in, and then just naturally finding ways and people or individuals to be able to help develop that skill set. I think it might not seem or occur as something that everybody should be doing all the time, but I'm kind of the house of that should just be kind of an always on activity. And I would say, like, the one thing that I have learned is sometimes you just don't know that you need a mentor. Sometimes it just kind of happens. It's like serendipity. It just sort of just like the universe sort of aligns. And just to share a story, like having a fairly successful career for the last 10 years or so, whether it was moving from Shaw to WestJet, just because of the pandemic, I actually experienced my first kind of kick in the stomach in terms of things just not going according to your career plan. And I actually really didn't understand or have an appreciation for just how much that impacted me. So it was through, you know, as I transitioned to Lululemon, started to build that relationship with my leader, Kate, who really just helped me through that, acceptance, through that change and everything, and being able to speak about it, go back to things, challenge me. And I just had no idea. I was wearing the kind of face of, all right, new company, new role, great company, got an awesome discounts and everything like that, working on cool projects, and then off I go. So sometimes you just don't even know, and you need some people around you to be able to help surface that for you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true as well, how you just being almost like that yes man as well, of just kind of, you know, using those failures and putting them towards success, and just being like yes to opportunities that arise, because you don't know, you know, what's going to come from that too, right? Like if you say yes to it, then it's just going to develop into something more and more. So it's that's super important.
Like a little side of curiosity, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's this, I'm going to kind of jump with our questions here that we've sent through before, but just kind of going off what you were just saying, Danilo, what sort of the best advice or the best lesson that you've learned from someone you've mentored, or, you know, if you haven't been a mentor, you know, someone as a mentee, what's sort of one of the best lessons that you've learned in a mentoring relationship? Or it could be a quote or anything like that, just anything that's kind of stuck with you, if anything. Jade, do you have anything from when you've been a mentor?
As a mentor or a mentee?
Either, both.
I definitely, some things come to mind as a mentee. I remember very early on in my career, someone helping me with my resume. It was in my first job, And I think the reason was because I was going for promotion. And they helped me, like just things like having a personal profile and making it less wordy, some things that really stuck with me. And as I've continually reviewed my CV over the years have, been in my mind. And it helped me get that promotion in work. So that was very, very helpful. But no, another time more recently, I was working on designing a reward recognition program. And I used my mentor, and she had some examples of different things she'd done in different roles. And as I talked to earlier, that kind of external perspective, but benchmarking, just even just having a discussion with her, ideas were flowing, right? You get to bounce things off someone, like, does that make sense? Do you think that might work? So I came away just like really motivated, full of ideas and energy. So probably the energy as much as the ideas was really important.
Yeah.
And I was able to design what was a very well received R&R program. And I have no doubt that without those conversations with my mentor, I don't think it would be anywhere near as good.
And do you think you, like being a mentee in that situation, do you feel like you've sort of like absorbed some of what you've learned and put that into when you're a mentor as well?
For sure, yeah. And not even just people, I've had formal coaching and informal coaching and mentorship discussions, kind of all of that, like how the good questions that people ask, how they, really kind of push through some of the noise, you kind of like, oh, this, and this. And sometimes I know I am anyway, all over the place with ideas and what I'm looking for. So just really being able to hone in what exactly is it you need help with? What are you trying to achieve? Asking some really good open-ended questions. That's one of the things that my awareness has increased. I'm now listening when someone's coaching me or asking me kind of questions, or, in mentoring. Oh, that's a really good question. That in mind, I'm going to use that too. I think that's one of the biggest things I've picked up that I use, and it's really important to prepare for having those conversations. Think about the type of questions that you might ask or need to ask, particularly if it's that relationship's been built. You know where they're going and how you can help them, and rather than telling someone, you can try and help them get to some of the ideas themselves as well. And once you've done that, then you can, maybe talk them up with some of your own experience.
I can just build off of what Jade said. And I mean, it's so easy to kind of go afterwards. Because, Jade just like really queued all of these up for me. But if I can just sum it, like there is an element of like, is it a tell? Is this an ask? And being able to understand if like if I need help, or if I need to help the individual find and diagnose a problem, or if there is help in terms of finding a solution. So I think it's just, there's like this tell, ask, are you trying to find a problem? Are you trying to find a solution? And kind of doing the dance between those four, as a mentor and as a mentee, being confident and strong in a relationship to be able to understand what it is that you need at that particular moment.
And that sort of rolls in again to how do you prepare? Do you use things from the past that you've kind of experienced, or do you go in with questions, and like we've done today, like do you go in with questions and then sort of pick out what's appropriate, or do you just start that first conversation and then kind of prepare from that first conversation, or do you just prepare from the get-go, or what's sort of your tactic, I guess, approaching mentorship?
For me, I would generally have some questions, some structure for that first meeting, but less so than maybe future meetings, because I think it's important to get to know the individual, start to build that relationship. That's the most important, I think, in your first session. and trying to find out what it is that they're hoping to achieve, what are their needs, how can you support them, and then maybe future sessions is where you have a better idea of what they need, what they're looking for, and how you can help, and therefore you probably want to have a little bit more prep, a little bit more structure, but it's still important that you can adapt and be flexible, right? So conversation might go in a totally different direction to what you expected. And if it does, that's maybe where they need to go and where they need support. So if you nope, these are the questions that I have for you, I have to bring you back, then I don't think that's going to be a success for the person that you're mentoring.
Yeah, I think for me it depends. I think with say we have coaching and mentorship programs and services for all employees at Lululemon. So in those situations, the expectation is there's a little bit more preparation in terms of being clear on the alliance, the outcomes that you're trying to drive, how you're going to measure it, being able to understand, going through a process of understanding the drivers behind some of those different things. And then there's some scenarios where it's just, it just kind of happens organically. I'm of the perspective of in those first conversations, I really want to know what the outcomes are, in terms of just kind of understanding the why behind them and what's driving them. And I would say the other elements through the conversation is just understanding what motivates people through that. So if you understand what the outcomes are, if it can get close to being able to understand what those motivators are, I think that usually the conversation will just sort of end the relationship, sort of flourish from there.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to ask a question that's not on the ask questions yet. Have either of you had a mentoring relationship that hasn't worked or hasn't been sort of a good match? And if you have had that experience, how have you sort of managed that? Danilo, feel free to go first if you want to.
Yeah.
I can try to take this one on, first one. I would say, I think there's been moments where time has been an issue and expectations alignment. So it's not as if it was the right person or was a match in terms of skill sets and experience. But I think one of the things that I learned early on in my career as let's say a manager reporting into, let's say, a vice president or a senior vice president, is making sure that I've got the expectations around what I expect to get out of that relationship. So not to say that it was a complete failure or anything like that, but being able to understand what you can get from somebody at certain levels and certain places in their careers, and then making sure that it matches with what you expect to get out of it. Because if there is misalignment, it's just a recipe for just disappointment. And then understanding, I would say, if there are gaps, how are you going to fill them, and where do you fill, and where do you source that?
Mm-hmm. And that's where sort of that preparedness comes in, I guess, as well, of having those expectations and those goals and all that sort of stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I haven't had a situation personally where there's been a mismatch, but as an HR professional, a company program, I do remember one really not working, and well, it was a mismatch of relationship, or it may have been a lack of training for the mentor. Mm-hmm. He was very experienced, very capable, and I think he had an understanding that he was a mentor because he was great, and I think there was a lot of telling you what I think you should know, as opposed to listening and understanding what that individual really needed, and then guiding them through that. And he also, I don't think, was great at preparing. So it was not going well, and ultimately, we decided that it wasn't a great match, and we aligned the individual up with a new mentor. And I think it made us relook at our training for mentors. I don't actually, if I remember correctly, I don't think there was training. Mm-hmm. And as a result of that, we decided that we need to just clarify the expectations and give a bit more guidance to what mentoring is about and what is expected from that relationship of the mentor.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, one thing that just popped into my head, Jade, as you're speaking was, and I don't want to paint like a broad stroke on this, but it's something that I've been paying attention to because you start to look at what's happening with just the social movement, social movements that are happening across the globe. The increased focus on ERGs, mentorship for different groups is just making sure that you've got the right individuals matched with the right person, and then also having the right skill sets to be able to engage with different whether it's race, age, whatever it ends up being, because it's a sensitive topic right now. I find I think there's probably more fear around mentoring in these areas just because of just the social sensitivities, and it's great to see that we're moving forward as a society around these areas and everything, but it's just something that I've kind of been paying attention to and just have been noticing. So.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Which is why I think these conversations are super important as well, to bring that awareness to everyone. I think I feel like we've kind of gone full circle as well, because it brings us back to that what makes a good mentor, and these sorts of experiences have kind of said that as well, of the the telling or the asking as well, I think is a really good takeaway from that, and that listening, that active listening component from both parties. And that preparedness as well. I hope everyone's writing notes, because I've got a ton of notes written down here from everything you guys have been saying, which is awesome. That's it from the predetermined questions. Madeline, is there any questions that have come through in the chat, or if anyone has a question, if you just want to raise your hand or anything, you're more than welcome to do so.
I have one comment and one question. So the first comment is, I really appreciate the honesty and vulnerability each of you has shared with us. Thank you. Personally, I believe that sharing vulnerability is helpful as a mentor. It helps create authentic and respectful sharing with your mentee.
Mm-hmm.
Couldn't agree more. And then this question, Andrea, I'm going to set up to let you do your plug. The question is, wondering, is third semester a good time to join a mentorship program?
Yeah, absolutely. With the SAIT formal mentorship program, which is launching shortly, as long as you've completed one semester, then you are good to go. That way we know you're a committed student, so you're going to be committed to the program. But yeah, third semester, absolutely. No, I think it's really important. As Danilo said earlier, you can never stop learning, really. So, if you become a mentee you obviously can be a mentor, but if you're a mentee in your third semester, you could always be a mentee the following year as well, and just sort of keep growing. And then that's a great opportunity for you to, sort of be a mentee a few times throughout your student life. And then when you graduate, then you have all the skills to become a mentor as well. And same as Jade and Danilo, you can use those skills as a mentee that you've learned and then put them into practice as a mentor. So absolutely, third semester is a great time. Second semester is a great time. Yeah.
So if people on the call that are either alumni that want to become a mentor or students that would like to be a mentee, who should they contact? What should they do? How should they get involved with the industry mentorship program at SAIT?
Yeah, so best thing is to email me at the moment, because it's a brand new little guy that we're doing. So if you just want to email myself, so I actually don't know how I can chat. Oh, here we go. Okay, I'm going to put my my email address in the chat here, so please feel free to reach out. You can add me on LinkedIn as well. It's just my my first name, last name, and then I can sort of give you some more information on that. And we do have mentorship circles too, which are a really great way to sort of ease into mentorship. So sort of a similar kind of approach as we have today. I'm hoping to get Danilo and Jade both in one of our mentorship circles in the future too. So you'll see their lovely faces again. So yeah, and they're sort of a great way if you want to do mentoring and you don't have the time to do it at the moment, or you just don't think you're ready for it, then mentorship circles are a great way to sort of just ease into it, kind of like the appetizer before the main, to get into it. And so yeah, good way to still network and just sort of get those skills. And then when you're ready for formal mentorship, then you can jump in on the program.
Awesome. So I will follow up with everybody after the fact, and I'll make sure, Andrea, your email is included in that, so we can follow up with everybody who might be interested.
Yeah, awesome.
With that, we'll bring this conversation to a close. I want to give a huge shout out and thank you to Andrea, Danilo, and Jade for joining us this afternoon. What time is it? 5:39. We did good. And thanks to all of you who joined us and participated in the webinar this evening. If you have any questions regarding alumni career support, in general, or if there's something that you'd like to see discussed throughout our What Works series, you can email us at alumni@sait.ca. The next session that we are hosting is all about labor statistics. So we will have folks from Calgary Economic Development as well as Petro LMI talking about labor market statistics and how we use those in our job and career search. So there'll be more information going out to all of you who joined us about the next one. With that, have a wonderful night and take care, everyone.
Thank you very much, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.